chosen one. God is revealing your purpose, and I need you to hear this with an open heart, because this moment may carry more meaning than you realize. If you keep scrolling, you may pass by something your spirit has been waiting to understand, because the season of wondering and waiting is beginning to change. What has felt hidden is starting to come into view, and I am pulling back the veil so you can begin to understand why certain things happened, why some pain remained longer than you thought it would, and why the silence sometimes felt almost unbearable. There comes a moment when what once confused you starts to form a pattern, and this may be that moment. Stay here and listen closely, because what you recognize today may change the way you understand everything you have already lived through. Type *AMN if this speaks to your heart. You have spent so much time asking what your purpose really is, and I have seen the searching that happened when no one else could see it. I have seen the nights when you questioned your worth, watched other people seem to move forward, and quietly wondered why your own life felt as though it had been placed on pause. I know how easily that kind of waiting can make you believe you have somehow fallen behind. But listen to me now. Your journey has not been wasted. The steps you thought were taking you nowhere were shaping something inside you that you could not yet recognize, and your purpose was never meant to be something you chased from a place of desperation. It has been developing within you through every season you survived, every disappointment you carried, and every time you kept going when you had very little left to give. You were not forgotten in those quiet years. You were being prepared for something you did not yet have the strength to understand. Your purpose is connected to the way you feel deeply, the way you care, even when caring has cost you something, and the way you continue after experiences that could have made you close your heart. There is a pull inside you that keeps returning even after you try to push it aside. Pay attention to that pull, because sometimes the calling does not arrive as a loud announcement. Sometimes it keeps whispering until you finally become quiet enough to hear it. You are here for a reason, chosen one, and I am revealing more because you are becoming ready to receive what you once could not carry. If this message is touching something inside you, take a moment to like this video. There are others still searching for language for what they have been feeling, and your support can help this message reach them. You've asked for answers, and now you are being invited to receive them with an open heart, because your purpose is connected not only to your strength, but also to the wounds you once wished you could forget. Some of the things that hurt you most may eventually become the very things that allow you to understand someone else. You know what it feels like to keep smiling while something inside you is exhausted. You know what it means to keep moving when you have no clear evidence that anything is changing. You have lived through moments that left you wondering whether I was silent, whether I had forgotten you, or whether your prayers had simply disappeared into the air. But what you could not see was that something was still being formed beneath the surface. There were paths you were not ready to walk yet, and doors that could not have carried the person you were becoming. If your purpose had been revealed too early, you might have reached for it before you had the wisdom, endurance, or steadiness to carry it. So the waiting was part of the preparation. I was not withholding your life from you. I was allowing you to become strong enough to recognize it when it arrived. Now you are entering a different kind of season. You are beginning to sense that you do not have to keep living inside the same confusion that once defined you. There is a quieter knowing growing within you, and it may not come with dramatic signs or perfect certainty. It may simply be the feeling that one choice brings peace, while another leaves you constantly trying to convince yourself that inner recognition matters, because I have already chosen you, and the opinions of other people cannot erase what has been placed within you. Type *777 if you trust God. Your purpose will still ask you to take steps before you can see the entire road. There will be moments when fear speaks loudly and tries to convince you that uncertainty means you are going the wrong way. But fear and truth do not always sound the same, and you are learning to recognize the difference. You do not need the whole map today. You need the courage to take the next faithful step, because sometimes the next part of the path becomes visible only after you move. You have been chosen not because you have everything figured out, but because you have continued. Your willingness to keep believing, keep learning, and keep getting back up has shaped you in ways you may only now be beginning to see. When you trust me, you do not have to carry every unanswered question alone. I will walk with you through the unfolding, and the people whose lives are meant to intersect with yours will encounter the purpose you are beginning to live. Your story carries something that another person may need. The things you survived, the lessons you gathered, and even the victories you once thought were too small to matter can become a source of light for someone still standing in a place you remember well. This is why your life carries meaning beyond what you can currently measure. You are not simply trying to build a life that looks successful from the outside. You are becoming someone whose presence, choices, and compassion can reach farther than you realize. And something inside you is beginning to shift. The confusion that once filled your mind is making room for peace, and the fear that kept you hesitating is slowly giving way to courage. You may notice it in quiet moments, in the way certain decisions suddenly feel clearer, in the way old distractions lose their grip, or in the way you no longer feel the same need to explain yourself to everyone. That quiet change is part of what is happening within you. Let yourself notice it, chosen one, because your guidance is becoming clearer and you are beginning to understand why your path has looked different from everyone else's. Type *1111 Ask Roof if you believe. Your purpose may not arrive as one dramatic revelation that explains your entire life in a single instant. It will continue unfolding as you walk, and the first thing you are being given is awareness. Awareness of who you are, what you carry, and why certain parts of your story have shaped you so deeply. Some of the patterns you once called random may begin to look different when you see them from this new place. Delays, unexpected turns, and closed doors can take on another meaning when you realize they were redirecting you rather than abandoning you. You were not simply being pushed away from what you wanted. You were being guided toward what could truly fit the person you are becoming. You may still question yourself sometimes, and that is part of being human. Even when something feels deeply right, your mind may hesitate, because unfamiliar peace can feel almost as strange as familiar pain. But there will be a quiet knowing within you that recognizes what resonates, even when you cannot explain it to anyone else. You will begin to notice that some choices feel right in a way that requires no performance or approval. Other people may not understand why you are choosing differently now, and that is okay. Your purpose was never meant to become a life everyone else could interpret for you. It is something you are being asked to live, one honest step at a time, until the person you have been searching for becomes the person you finally recognize in yourself. There were places you tried so hard to belong, only to leave feeling strangely empty afterward. At the time you may have called that emptiness failure, wondering what was wrong with you or why you could not feel at home where everyone else seemed comfortable. But chosen one, some emptiness is actually a form of direction. I was allowing you to feel what no longer fit, so you would eventually have the courage to release it. What once felt like rejection was sometimes my way of turning your heart towards something more honest. Now you are beginning to feel drawn toward what brings peace into your spirit. Instead of constantly asking you to prove yourself, pay attention to those quiet feelings, because they are teaching you something about the path ahead. Your purpose is connected to what gives life back to you, what makes you feel present and sincere, rather than what leaves you emotionally exhausted after you have spent all your energy trying to belong. You are entering a season where things that once felt tangled may begin to make sense, and decisions you carried like heavy stones may finally feel easier to hold. I am lifting some of the weight you have carried for so long, and I am giving you the strength to move with greater confidence. You will begin to recognize yourself differently, not because everyone around you suddenly approves of you, but because you are becoming less dependent on their approval to know what feels true. That confidence is growing from somewhere deeper than appearances or praise. It is coming from the awakening of something within you that has been waiting for you to trust it. Type *10910 to receive blessings. You have been preparing for this season far longer than you realize. Even during the stretches of your life, when you looked around and saw no evidence that anything was changing, while you thought you were standing still, patience was being built in you, resilience was being strengthened, and faith was being tested in the quiet places where no one could see. You are not beginning from an empty place now. You are stepping into something that has been quietly taking shape inside you for years. That is why this new season may feel strangely familiar. Part of you recognizes where you are going, because you have been carrying the seed of it for a long time, even before you had language for it. There will still be moments that test you, but you will meet those moments as someone different. What once felt like another obstacle placed in your way can become an opportunity to discover how much strength has actually grown inside you. You are not the person who walked through those earlier seasons, and you will respond differently now because those experiences changed the way you see yourself. I am also bringing people across your path who can recognize something in you that you're only beginning to recognize yourself. Some will encourage you when your confidence becomes quiet. Some will remind you of what you are capable of. And some may arrive unexpectedly at exactly the moment you need their presence. At the same time, there will be people who slowly move out of your life, and their departure does not have to mean that something has gone wrong. Not everyone is meant to continue into every chapter of your becoming. Some connections belong to one season, and when that season changes, holding on can become heavier than letting go. There are things you cannot see yet, situations you are being redirected away from, and paths that may close before you understand why they closed. Trust that I am still watching over you in those moments, because protection does not always look like receiving what you asked for. Sometimes it looks like being quietly moved away from what would have drained you. You are not walking through this alone, even during the moments when the room feels quiet and no one seems to understand what is happening inside you. I am with you in the uncertainty, in the decisions, in the letting go, and in every small step toward what is meant for you. Your purpose is not about standing before the world and proving that you are worthy. It is about becoming honest with the person I created you to be when there is no audience left to impress. When you begin living from that place, peace starts to feel different. It is not the fragile peace that depends on everything going according to plan. It is the deeper kind that remains even when you still have questions. You will find yourself comparing less, explaining less, and looking less often at someone else's path to decide whether you are moving quickly enough. Your journey has its own timing, and what is meant for your life does not become yours by winning a race against someone else. You are stepping into a version of yourself that feels more awake, more grounded, and more willing to listen inwardly. The fear may still visit you, but it no longer has the same authority it once carried. You are learning to hear your inner voice without immediately asking everyone else whether you are allowed to trust it. That is how your purpose continues to unfold, not through force, but through the quiet willingness to follow what brings you into greater peace and integrity. There's a quiet transformation happening within you now, and you may not be able to point to one dramatic moment when it began. Your thoughts are changing, your perspective is becoming clearer, and certain things that once consumed your attention are beginning to lose their power over you. Much of this work is happening beneath the surface, before the outside world has any idea that you have changed. What is being built inside you is preparing you for what comes next. Your purpose is becoming less like something you need to discover and more like something you are learning to embody. You will notice it in the choices you make when no one is watching, in the boundaries you are finally willing to honor, and in the things you choose to give your attention to. Even the smallest decisions can begin to carry a different weight, because they are connected to the person you are becoming. Keep taking those steps with consistency, because a life of purpose is often built quietly, long before anyone else can see what it is becoming. There is also something inside you that has been waiting to be expressed. Maybe you pushed it aside because you thought it could wait, or because you were afraid it would require you to become more visible than you felt ready to be. But that gift, passion, or calling keeps returning to your heart for a reason. And you are beginning to understand that it was never insignificant. You do not have to know exactly where it will lead before you give yourself permission to explore it. Your purpose is also found in the way your life touches other people. Sometimes it will happen through something large, but sometimes it will be a word spoken at the right moment, a kindness offered when someone is struggling, or simply the experience of making another person feel seen. You may never know the full effect of those moments, and that is part of what makes them sacred. Your life can carry meaning beyond what you are able to measure, even when you feel as though you are simply living an ordinary day. You are moving forward now, and even when uncertainty returns, you will recognize yourself differently inside it. You have gained an awareness that cannot easily be forgotten once you have seen certain things clearly, and that awareness will continue helping you recognize what belongs in your life and what has reached its season of completion. You are changing, and eventually the life around you will begin to reflect what has already shifted within you. The reason you feel different is because you are becoming more willing to receive what I placed inside you, instead of continually asking yourself whether you are allowed to become it. And that acceptance is opening something in you that resistance kept closed for a long time. You're beginning to understand that purpose does not always arrive with certainty. Sometimes it begins with the simple feeling that you can no longer keep living against what your heart knows. Keep listening, chosen one, because what has been awakening within you is becoming harder to ignore, and the more honestly you receive it, the more clearly your path will unfold. Asterisk, type 222 to claim miracles. Asterisk, there were seasons when you honestly wondered whether you were moving forward at all. You looked at your life and saw little outward evidence of change, while somewhere inside you kept asking why everything seemed so quiet. But chosen one, stillness was never the same as emptiness. Even while you felt as though you were standing in one place, something within you was being strengthened. Your thoughts were changing, your perspective was deepening, and your ability to endure was becoming part of the person you were being prepared to become. Growth does not always announce itself with visible movement. Sometimes it happens in the quiet room, in the thoughts you begin to see differently, in the strength you discover only after you realize how much you have already survived. That hidden work has been happening within you, and now you are beginning to see traces of it in the way you respond to life. You are noticing things you once overlooked, and some of those realizations may feel almost too precise to dismiss. Certain ideas keep finding their way back into your mind. Certain desires refuse to disappear even after you have tried to convince yourself that you should want something else, and certain paths seem to keep appearing in front of you at unexpected moments. Pay attention to that repetition, because sometimes what keeps returning is asking to be understood rather than ignored. I am guiding you toward what is meant for you, even when the shape of that path looks different from what you once imagined. When something continues to stir in your heart after months or even years, do not immediately assume it is meaningless simply because you cannot explain it. There may be a reason you keep coming back to the same idea, the same gift, the same desire, or the same kind of work. You may feel an urgency growing inside you now, a quiet sense that waiting forever is no longer possible. That feeling does not have to become panic. It can become a gentle invitation to take the next step. You do not need to understand the entire journey before you begin. In many cases, clarity arrives after movement, not before it, because some parts of the path can only be recognized once you have the courage to walk toward them. Your purpose may become clearer through action, through experience, and through the moments when you discover what truly brings you alive. Do not wait for perfect certainty when something within you is already asking for a beginning. There are also parts of yourself you have kept hidden for a long time because you learned to believe they were too strange, too sensitive, too ambitious, or simply unimportant. Maybe you became good at making yourself smaller so other people could remain comfortable around you. But, chosen one, what makes you different does not need to be erased before you can belong to your own life. I created you intentionally, and the parts of you that you once questioned may carry more meaning than you have yet understood. When you begin accepting yourself more honestly, something changes in the way you move through the world. You stop spending so much energy asking whether you are enough, and you begin listening more carefully to what your own heart has been trying to tell you. There is nothing accidental about the person you are becoming, even though the path may have felt confusing. Type asterisk 12 if you walk by faith. You have spent enough time measuring your life against someone else's. Comparison can make another person's timing look like proof that you are failing, when their path was never meant to become the ruler by which you measure your own. What I placed within you has its own shape, and it does not need to resemble what is happening in someone else's life. The more you stare at another person's road, the easier it becomes to overlook the quiet direction unfolding beneath your own feet. Bring your attention back to yourself now. Not in a selfish way, but in an honest one. Notice what gives you energy, what keeps returning to your heart, what makes you feel peaceful after you have done it, and what leaves you feeling as though you have abandoned yourself just to be accepted. You may begin realizing that certain things simply do not hold you anymore. Interests that once consumed you may feel distant, and places that once felt familiar may suddenly feel too small. That does not mean you are losing yourself. It may mean you are finally making room for yourself. Your purpose requires space, and sometimes creating that space means releasing relationships, habits, expectations, or identities that once felt necessary. It may hurt to let them go, but there is a difference between losing something and outgrowing it. You are being drawn closer to what fits the person you are becoming. There is a strength rising in you that you may still underestimate. It is the same strength that carried you through the nights when you had questions with no answers, the seasons when you felt alone, and the moments when you kept going simply because stopping felt impossible. You may have thought those experiences only took something from you, but they also revealed what was already inside you. That strength is part of your purpose, and you are beginning to understand how much it has shaped you. You are more capable than the version of yourself who once believed every obstacle meant you had taken the wrong path. I am reminding you of that now because you are approaching a point where courage will matter more than certainty. Opportunities may appear in forms you did not expect, and when they do, you may feel both excitement and fear at the same time. Do not assume the fear means you should turn away. Sometimes fear simply appears when something matters enough to change you. When what is meant for you begins to appear, it may not look exactly like the picture you once carried in your mind. You may recognize it through a quiet sense of rightness rather than a dramatic sign, through the feeling that you can breathe more deeply instead of having to force yourself into a life that never quite fit. Trust that recognition, but give yourself room to discern it with patience. What belongs in your life does not require you to abandon yourself just to hold on to it. There may still be fear, chosen one, and there may still be moments when you question whether you are ready. Fear can accompany growth because stepping into something meaningful means leaving behind the certainty of what you already know. Let that feeling remind you that you are standing at the edge of something unfamiliar rather than allowing it to decide your future. Your purpose will ask for courage, but you do not have to manufacture all of that courage at once. I will meet you in the next step and give you what you need for that step. You are learning to trust yourself at a deeper level, and that trust is becoming one of the strongest foundations beneath you. When you listen to that quiet knowing with honesty and wisdom, you are listening to something I placed within you. Doubt may return from time to time, but you are learning that a doubtful thought does not automatically deserve the final word. Sometimes doubt is simply hesitation, asking for reassurance. Sometimes it is the old version of you trying to protect itself from the unfamiliar. You can acknowledge that feeling without allowing it to turn you around, because you have already learned that waiting for every fear to disappear will keep you waiting forever. Keep walking toward what you know with faith, patience, and an open heart. And be patient with yourself while you do it. Purpose rarely arrives as one complete answer that suddenly explains every chapter of your life. It unfolds through seasons, choices, discoveries, and moments of quiet recognition. There will be days when everything seems to move quickly, and other days when you wonder whether anything is happening at all. Both kinds of days belong to the journey, and both are shaping you. Trust the timing, even when you cannot yet understand it. You are not required to force the next chapter into existence before its time. And you do not have to punish yourself for moving at a different pace than everyone around you. You are where you are right now, and there is still something here for you to learn, receive, and become. The more honestly you step into your purpose, the more a different kind of peace will begin to settle within you. It will not be the fragile peace that depends on every circumstance becoming perfect. It will be the deeper peace that comes from knowing you are walking in a direction your spirit recognizes, even when you still have questions along the way. That peace can remain with you when challenges return, reminding you that you are supported, that you are being guided, and that you are not walking this path alone. There is something deeply different about the way you are beginning to live. Now, chosen one, you are becoming more intentional about where your energy goes, what you give your attention to, and what you're willing to spend your life pursuing. You are no longer comfortable forcing yourself into places that leave you feeling disconnected from who you are, and that discomfort is telling you something important. You are moving into alignment, and as you do, pieces of your life that once seemed scattered are beginning to make sense. What once felt confusing is starting to connect in ways you could not see before. You are being prepared for a life that carries more meaning, more fulfillment, and a deeper resemblance to the person you know you are becoming. This is more than a passing feeling. Something in the way you see yourself is changing. Your purpose is becoming woven into ordinary moments, shaping your choices and quietly directing the way you move through your days. You are spending less time searching for who you are and more time becoming that person. And as you become, your purpose will continue to reveal itself in ways that reach deeper than you expected. The way you look at your life, your decisions, and even your future is already beginning to shift. You have reached a point where confusion feels too heavy to carry, and living without direction no longer feels acceptable. That change may seem subtle from the outside, but inside you, it marks the moment your purpose begins taking its rightful place. Type 2222 if you receive this message. There was a time when you looked outside yourself for permission, waiting for someone else to tell you which direction to take. You searched other people's lives for answers, because trusting your own inner knowing felt uncertain. But now you are learning to listen to that quieter voice within you, the one that does not need to shout to be heard. I am guiding you through that awareness, helping you recognize what feels true for you, and you are beginning to understand that your path does not require constant approval from everyone around you. You may also notice yourself becoming more careful with your time, your energy, and the parts of yourself you give away. This is not you becoming cold or distant. You are learning that what matters to you deserves protection. Your purpose needs room to breathe, and you are finally becoming aware of what continually pulls you away from that space. You are learning to stop spending yourself on things that leave you empty, and you are beginning to do that without feeling guilty for choosing yourself. There is a deeper awareness growing inside you now. You are beginning to understand not only what you desire, but what lives underneath that desire, and that understanding is changing the way you move. When you know why something matters to you, outside distractions have less power over you. Even when circumstances shift, you can remain steady, because your direction is becoming rooted in something deeper than whatever happens around you. You are also learning that your purpose has its own pace. There is a rhythm to your journey that belongs to you, and forcing what is not ready only creates exhaustion. You have spent enough time wondering whether you are behind because someone else appears to be moving faster, but your life was never meant to unfold according to another person's clock. You are moving through a season that is preparing you in its own way, and there is wisdom in allowing each step to arrive when you are ready to carry it. Type 7777 if you trust God. There may be moments when your faith is tested again, but those moments will meet a different version of you. You have already lived through seasons that once felt capable of breaking you, and now you carry the memory of what you survived. When doubt returns, you will recognize its voice more clearly, and you will remember that a difficult moment does not erase everything God has already brought you through. Your faith is becoming steadier because it has been lived, questioned, stretched, and still carried forward. And now you are stepping into a deeper kind of responsibility. Your purpose was never meant to exist only for your own comfort or achievement. The way you live, the choices you make, and the way you carry yourself can touch people who may never fully understand what brought you here. There are things you have learned through your own struggles that may become meaningful to someone else simply because you chose to keep walking. You have been entrusted with something meaningful, and you are more capable of carrying it than you once believed. At the same time, a different kind of peace is beginning to settle over you. It is quiet, almost easy to miss, because it does not arrive with everything suddenly becoming perfect. It comes from that inner recognition that you are finally moving in a direction that feels true. You can still have questions and still feel uncertainty, yet somewhere underneath all of it, there is a steadiness that was harder to find before. Hold on to that peace, chosen one, because it will teach you how to move through uncertainty without returning to the person you used to be. You are no longer running in circles trying to understand the same patterns, repeating the same choices, and wondering why they keep leading you to the same place. You are beginning to recognize those patterns while you are still inside them, and that awareness gives you the power to choose differently. You are creating a new path now, one decision at a time. It is being shaped by greater clarity, deeper intention, and a willingness to honor what you already know within yourself. Every small choice matters because each one becomes part of the life you are building. And perhaps the greatest sign that your purpose is awakening is this: your life is slowly beginning to look like the person you have been becoming all along. Chosen one, there will be opportunities that ask you to step beyond the version of yourself that feels familiar. When they appear, part of you may hesitate simply because you have never stood in that place before. But unfamiliar does not mean wrong. Sometimes the very thing that stretches you is revealing how much you have grown. The discomfort may pass, but what you learn about yourself by having the courage to step forward can remain with you for years. Your purpose was never meant to keep you protected inside what you already know. It is meant to expand your understanding of who you are and what you are capable of carrying. There will be moments when you cannot see how everything will come together, when the next piece seems hidden and you are tempted to question the direction you are taking. But the absence of an immediate answer does not mean nothing is happening. There are things being arranged beyond what you can see. Connections forming, opportunities taking shape, and timing coming together in ways you may only understand later. You are also becoming more conscious of what happens within your own mind. You are beginning to notice which thoughts strengthen you and which old patterns quietly pull you back toward the person you have already outgrown. This matters because the way you think affects the way you move, and the way you move eventually shapes the life you are creating. You are changing more than your behavior. You are changing the inner conversation that has guided you for so long. That is why a quieter confidence is beginning to appear. People may notice it before you have words for it, because it does not need to announce itself. It shows up in the way you carry yourself, in the way you pause before saying yes, and in the way you no longer feel compelled to explain every decision. This confidence comes from knowing yourself more honestly, and because it is rooted within you, it does not depend on everyone else understanding your path. You are becoming more focused, more awake to what matters, and more willing to move, even while some uncertainty remains. You are learning that trust does not mean having every answer before you begin. Sometimes it means taking the next step while still carrying a few questions in your heart, believing that the step itself will reveal what comes after it. Your purpose is no longer some distant idea waiting for a perfect future. It is becoming visible in the way you live today. Remember the seasons when you felt as though everyone else was moving while your own life stood still. You questioned whether you were making progress, whether you were enough, and whether you had somehow missed your direction. What you could not see then was that something deeper was developing beneath the surface. Like roots growing quietly beneath the ground before anyone sees a tree rise, you were being strengthened in places no one could measure. Now that hidden strength is beginning to show. You are starting to realize that you have spent years searching outside yourself for something that was already taking shape within you. The answer was never as far away as you believed. It was often buried beneath fear, comparison, and the need for someone else to tell you who you were. This is why I'm asking you to listen more carefully to that quiet knowing inside you. When you learn to recognize it, you begin to recognize the direction of your purpose as well. There is a different kind of courage rising in you now. It does not feel like a sudden rush of fearlessness. It feels steadier than that, like something you can lean on when your emotions become uncertain. This courage will help you take the next step, even when your hands are not completely steady, and it will remind you that doubt can be present without becoming your decision. You are not being asked to feel fearless, chosen one. You are being asked to trust enough to keep moving, and your courage will grow through that movement. You are also beginning to understand that your purpose may never fit neatly into one title, one position, or one definition. It can move through different seasons of your life, expressing itself in the way you speak, the way you create, the way you care, and the way you treat the people who cross your path. Your purpose is present in your character as much as it is in what you accomplish. It is not confined to one place. It is something you carry with you. Type with L111 to affirm. There will be moments when you sense that you are stepping towards something larger than the life you once imagined for yourself, and that realization may bring excitement alongside hesitation. Let yourself feel both. When something stretches your identity, it can feel unfamiliar before it feels natural, and that does not mean you have taken the wrong path. Chosen one. Do not allow that hesitation to convince you that you belong somewhere smaller. You have already outgrown places where you had to shrink yourself just to feel accepted. There is more room in you now than there was before, and as you continue forward, you will begin to understand why some of the old places could never hold the person you were becoming.